Okay, I have a little rant regarding the Boston public transportation system, otherwise known as the T, which I've always wondered if it stands for terrible public transportation system. I mean, the United States infrastructure is well known to be in disarray, but I can only speak for what I know, and I know the Boston transportation system, which has been a cause of much frustration over the years, especially because the price of the tickets are going up, 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 while the quality is not going noticeably up. I have to say that I have noticed fewer breakdowns of the subway, but can that be a measure of a good transportation system, that there are fewer breakdowns? There should be zero breakdowns, there should be zero accidents, there should be zero fires, there should be a more efficient notification system. There should be a better website. Let's start with that, the simplest of things. And why is this rant coming about? I wanted to take the number 86 bus today from Harvard Square, yes, one of the most famous squares in the world, where one would expect impeccable transportation, seamless, copious availability of information for the public. I mean, I've been living in this city for over a decade, and I have all the time to access the website and see where the bus departs from. That is not on the website, by the way. So how should one know where to take the bus from when one is in Harvard Square? And as a side note, if things are so difficult for a resident, how much more difficult is it for someone who is in town for graduation, let's say, or for tourism from out of state or from another country, and has a precious few hours to go around, to move around, and is struggling to figure out the transportation? I mean, I think I'll call this video the Phantom number 86 bus from Harvard Square to Sullivan Square, because it's as if an evil genius designed the system so that it's impossible to find that bus. Just as an example, I just happened to need that specific bus. So let me tell you exactly what happened. Before leaving home today, I planned to take the number 86 bus from Harvard Square home to Sullivan Square. Naturally, I go on the website because I'd never taken it before, and there are multiple T-stops throughout Harvard Square, and I wanted to see where to take the bus from. The origin of the bus is nowhere to be found on the website, the official city website. So I said, that's fine, I'll ask around. So I asked the driver who drove me to Harvard Square. He didn't know. He said, oh, I started from the basic question, does it depart from a station above ground or underground? He says, oh, it's above ground. But kind of unsure, so that should have been a tip-off. But there's a handful of buses that depart from Harvard Square, and he's a T worker, okay? I said, okay. So I look around once I get off at Harvard Square. I don't find the number 86. I go downstairs. Oh, first of all, I go to the information kiosk at the square. There's no one to be found at the information kiosk at Harvard Square, which is a landmark, by the way, of the square. It's even on Wikipedia. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll go downstairs to the information booth. From the station, Harvard Station. There's no one to be found throughout the entire station. The entire station. No one to ask information from. One of the most famous stations in the world, by the way, okay? Harvard. Okay. Okay. So, I said, okay, there are two possibilities. It either departs from underground, where I was, or above ground. So, let me ask underground. So, I asked the first driver I saw, underground. He told me that it's above ground. I asked, where exactly does number 86 bus depart from above ground? He didn't know. That should have been a second tip-off. So I said, okay. He said, well, where we are, but above ground. Okay. I go above ground and I start circling the station, going from T-stop to T-stop, trying to find a driver to ask. So I say, oh joy, I finally find a station right across from the entrance to Harvard University that says bus 86, the sign. So I said, okay, that's where I am. But just to be sure, I say to myself, let me ask the next driver. So I ask the driver who was driving bus number 66 to Dudley Square, and almost with a smirk or sarcasm, but unsure sarcasm. So again, all this body language should have been a big red flag. He says, well, of course it's here. It says so on the sign, does it not? And of course, to be sure, yes, it did say 86. Finally, the fifth person I asked, the fifth T driver, an official of the infamous MBTA, is a person who's been on the job apparently for many years, and he says, no, these people are new. You have to go downstairs underground where I was, as you remember, and take it from there. By this point, I was so frustrated and tired that I just took the train home, which was what I was trying to avoid all along, because it was a beautiful day and I wanted to take the scenic route. So anyway, Boston, get your act together, okay? You know, forget the fancy stuff, forget the Amazon headquarters and the Olympics, and start with your infrastructure, for which you charge us more and more every year. You know, I was finally forced by simple math to buy a monthly pass, which costs $80, over $80, something like 84, 85 monthly pass, because it was becoming extremely unaffordable to buy individual tickets. So, and we're talking again about one of the most famous cities in the world, you know, academic, financial center, historic, deeply historic city, and one of the biggest landmarks in the world, Harvard Square. So I don't know what else to say. I think these things speak for themselves. And on top of that, it's a weekday. It's a Friday afternoon. It's not a holiday. So, I don't know. I rest my case. I really do.